The Lost Caverns of Exelon may be releasing November 17th, 2023, but with this upcoming set and the spoilers, the teasers starting to appear, there's also another issue that a lot of people are failing to recognize, and that is the problem with Standard. Frankenstein decks, right out of 1993. Hang in there, because we're going to get there. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for hanging out with me on my channel today. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Show your support and help this channel get closer to 20,000 subscribers. You guys are making it happen every day. Thanks again for everyone taking the time to do so. We're almost at the 20K party. Everyone's invited. We're going to have a good time. So, the Lost Caverns of Exelon. Maybe we should talk about Doctor Who. Maybe the Lord of the Rings collector decks. But there's something else to really cover. And that's what's happening with Standard. As you guys know, the Standard rotation is bigger. Wizards is promoting Standard and telling people to get out there and play Standard. Do you know what happens when you go to a Standard game right now? Maybe some of you experience this yourselves. And I am really hoping that some of you guys drop comments in the comment section. Because I went and viewed 6 different Standard kind of store matches this weekend, and they were pretty entertaining, and that's what we have to talk about. Because when you go to a Standard game, you're expecting certain deck construction, 4 Shieldreds, 4 of whatever, Shieldred's Edict, and all these crazy things, and no one at any of these game stores had completed decks. They all had Franken decks. They had pieces of decks they wanted to construct, but did not have the cards because they haven't been opening booster packs. Why haven't they been opening booster packs? Because Wizards has been killing the secondary market value and no player was willing to dive in to get these cards for their booster packs. This vicious circle now has come all the way around with, hey, we're going to promote Standard again. Come on out and play Standard. We're going to support the LGS. We're going to support you, the players. We have longer rotations. This is going to be an event that you will love and enjoy. And then you show up there and you watch a guy trying to get a Shieldred to stay on the board because he only has one. You're trying to find a guy who only has one Urza Planeswalker, one Mightstone, Weakstone, and he's trying to convert it over and make it stick because there's so many removal spells. But nobody has 4 of because they don't want to spend the money. They didn't want to spend the cash. Higher prices, a bad market economy, all these things weighing down on the players had nobody buying the cards. They're playing on Arena. They're playing other ways. They're playing Commander. And now when these players decide to come back and dive into Standard, yeah, I can't wait, I'm going to play. And they try to put their deck together. And they sit down at a table with some friends. They go, do you have this, or do you have Moss Dread Knights? Do you have Agatha's Soul Cauldron? Guys, you got anything you can spare? Can I borrow some for my Standard deck? And they don't have one either. No one did. Not a single person at any of these had a completed deck they wanted to play. They had them completed on Arena. They knew what they wanted to play. But when they looked through the few packs they had opened, they didn't have it. They didn't have it. Now, when I went and checked with all these LGSs, and most of these were smaller stores this weekend, okay, I was just coming from up north down, so you stop at a few places on the way, but as I go down there and see this, and you see what's happening, all these stores are sold out of the singles cards players were looking for. Even bigger stores, Face-to-Face, Harry T, 401 Games, Fusion Gaming, a lot of these guys didn't have the individual singles, or the couple they did have were the alternate versions that were more expensive. Players weren't buying them, didn't want to get into it. Crazy, crazy stuff to see that the stores don't have it because they're not cracking as many boxes. A store that would normally open, let's say a big store, opens 120, 200 boxes, and they only opened 25. They're expecting singles to come from the players, but the players didn't buy as much either. This downward pressure that Wizards put on their own, business model is now coming back to backfire. And that's the problem with Standard right now, is people aren't playing completed decks. They're playing these half mashed together. A few people did okay with these mono red kind of burn decks. They had, all kinds of commons and stuff thrown in. They did okay unless they came across a deck that had some funky removal. It was very entertaining. And I stayed for several hours to watch a lot of these matches to play out. I had a blast watching it because as I asked to look at the people's decks afterwards, you could just see 2 of this, 1 of this, 3 of that common, but it didn't have the 4th common they needed. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of excitement. And it made me want to go back to try standard out because I have 4 of my Earths. I have part of my deck constructed already, so I was okay. But this problem isn't going to solve itself overnight. With it being as big as it is, some players were saying they're going back to like some Crimson Vow stuff for now. They're going to try to get some older decks put together just so they can kind of get things going. But newer players were ordering from like TCG Player. They were ordering from outside sources that are going to take 4 to 6 weeks to get there because they had no other way of getting the cards. They didn't want to take a chance of gambling by opening packs. They didn't want to reach in there and open some random pack and not get the card they wanted. They want specific cards because they have part of it built. And again, on Arena, these decks do very well. So, of course, they want to play them in real life now. They want to play the standard deck that they built on Arena. But let's face it, some of these decks are very expensive. And I really got a kick out of it, guys. I got to be honest. I sat back there and I saw people complaining about not having the cards. They weren't mean about it. They're just complaining and having that conversation. And with the pricing structure Wizards has set right now, players don't want to dive into this stuff. They're not that eager to open their wallets and buy these cards. Why would they? Wizards has killed their market for so long over the last, always since 30th anniversary that nobody wanted to get in there. Really, I think basically since Dominaria United, things really took a downturn. And now with the idea of the Lost Caverns of Exelon coming up, I think you're going to see a real surge in sales. And there's several reasons behind this. This is, we're past the first half. Okay, here's the second half of the video. In the background here, I got Quintus, right? He's the new Planeswalker. That's a Loxodon. That is a Minotaur. Just you guys, for the reserve list guys, didgeridoo, right? That's the kind of cards, these kind of cards coming up, you don't know what's going to be there. But they got God cards coming in. They got those Lost Treasures and kind of things coming in there where you got the chance for a Mana Crypt. They put Cavern of Souls in there. Either way, they got Spirits, which Quintus can use. Think about that Moonshaker Cavalry. That's the kind of card he'll be able to probably play with as a Planeswalker. He's going to have something linking to Spirits because he does as a card right now. Those kind of connections are things players will be looking for. When you look at Agatha's Soul Cauldron that can exile cards which would counter what Quintus can do, these kind of combination card combos are going to start costing players money if they get into this as a standard format. You're going to see sales we haven't seen for a while when we get to the Lost Caverns of Exelon. Not to mention people just wanting to dive into dinosaurs. And we got a couple there, with March of the Machines. We have a few with the Phyrexian crossing over. Then we have a few, dinosaurs off to the side that can now be brought in and deck construction can continue. We have soldiers from all these different formats. You have vampire decks coming with vampire clerics and stuff. There's going to be a lot of options that now become available with the Lost Caverns of Exelon. And that means it's going to have higher sales. It's going to have more box openings. And as the last real set, I guess, other than Ravnica Remastered, before they go to play boosters, with the value they've packed into the set, and expect higher value. The spoilers and teasers, right? The spoilers gave us a few. The teasers came out on the weekend. You guys saw the cards and stuff. You probably watched other YouTube channels for it. I was kind of amused. It's kind of fun to kind of think about it, but if you actually look at the storyline they gave us and you talk about the spirits, you talk about the dinosaurs, you talk about Quintus, you can see the construction and the connections that will link this to other cards in previous sets. I think Moonshaker Cavalry will go up. I think Quintus is going to be a card that people are going to want to play with, and as well as he has that one in the March of the Machine set as well, the one where he's like standing there, right? All these little connections of cards are going to make it a very attractive thing for players. It's going to give something to build with, but it's also going to have box openings happening. You're going to have people hunting for a few cards they really want, and I think stores are going to, for the bigger stores, not the smaller ones, but the bigger stores can probably, afford to buy a little bit more now because the single sales are doing very well. And I already know a couple of stores that actually sold a few cases already, which is very unusual, a few cases of the collector boxes for the Lost Caverns of Exelon, almost like the person knew what other people don't know. Whatever it is, that person bought a couple of cases. Verified, checked the sales, it's good. The cash was paid. And another person paid cash for like one case and a bit. Guys, this is a different world with the Lost Caverns of Exelon. I think the itch is there for players to get back in there, and it doesn't matter if everyone plays standard, okay? It doesn't matter if you're a commander player. There was enough interest that these games that were all being played had like 12 to 16 people at each one. These are small stores in smaller towns. that's still a pretty large pool of players. You're talking 70, 80, 90 people playing in just a couple of like little drives for some small LGSs. I'll be curious to see how this plays out with the Lost Caverns of Exelon when we start getting the spoilers this week. So if you're a player who's going to be speculating any cards, there's cards you're thinking of getting, that Moonshaker one, I think you should pay attention to it. There's when you talk about spirits that Quintus usually accessed in other iterations of himself, you might expect a few more spirits to be there. And keep an eye on the animals, because the animals we might see, when you see about the capybara and stuff like that, those kind of creature things might link into things with Bloomburrow. So you might want to think about getting a few of those cards if you planned on building with Standard. The problem with Standard is nobody has the cards right now. And that's leading to some funky, weird Franken decks. Fun to watch, but the frustration on players' faces is hilarious too, because it's not like they meant to do it, they just haven't been buying the cards. Thanks a lot, guys, for hanging out. Thanks for being here on the channel today. Let me know if you've seen any of this stuff happening, or if you attended any of these events and what kind of deck you were playing. I gotta hear about it. It's amazing. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me on the channel today, and don't forget, Magic is an amazing game. Bring a friend to Magic. I'll see you all tomorrow with another video. I love that phrase, Franken deck. It was pretty funny. One of the guys was saying that. It was hilarious. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for being here on the channel. Big shout out to all my fantastic patrons supporting the channel. We're getting closer every day to that 20K party. Can't wait to see you all there. Have a great day. Oh, you guys made it to the Ramble Jamble. Welcome to the end. All right, guys, the Franken deck thing. I don't know if you guys got that during the video. I was cracking up, man. It was so funny. I almost laughed in the video. I couldn't believe how funny it was to watch these decks play. And they don't have the right mana base. They don't have all the right cards, but they wanted to play. They wanted to be competitive, and they were trying to get it. And the one guy with the, lost his Shieldred to Shieldred's Edict that the other guy cast, right? But he only had one. He's like, I really needed that to stick, man. I don't have anything left. The guy's like, what do you mean? He goes, no, that's it. You burned through all the creatures I have right now. I have nothing in the deck but removal. So he's dying to the Mirrex little poison counter guys. It was pretty funny, guys, because all these Franken decks were put together and they're like half built. And people are waiting for cards, and then you go to another store. And it's deja vu. It's Twilight Zone, man, because it happened again. With very similar stories, with cards missing that they needed. Oh, I didn't get my 4 quick studies from Wilds of Eldraine. Why'd I trade that stuff in? Why'd I leave my bulk on the table from the pre-release? I should have been thinking about this. You're just like, you couldn't help it, man. It was really entertaining. People were having a blast, but for guys who are used to being really competitive, not having any of the cards you need, like having 20% of your deck and that's it, is funny, right? Because you're like, this is not what's supposed to be happening. My arena deck plays so well, and this is just, it's not working. It was great, man. Anyway, entertaining to say the least. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. I mean, that's all I got for today. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have an awesome day. Franken deck.